Hi, and welcome to this lesson on how to get rid of your all or nothing mentality. This is going to be key, especially when it comes to sustainable fat loss, but it's also very important when it comes to anything in your life and actually binge eating recovery as well. So we're going to learn the psychology, the science behind it, because it's all about finding balance, right? So you can finally stop self-sabotaging and stay consistent. Right, so some common thoughts. It's kind of gonna be different for everyone, but you've got the usual, I've messed up today, so I might as well, either quit or start again on Monday. You have the, oh my god, I ate one cookie, might as well finish the box. Or you have, you know what, I don't have the time to do this full workout, do the full thing, so I'm just going to skip it. It's very much, if I can't do it perfectly, what's the point of doing it? And this is black or white thinking, right? Which is also cognitive distortion, where you either see success of, I can do this perfectly, successful, good for me, or failure. I can't do it perfectly, this is a failure, I am a failure. But we're going to talk about that in a second. So yeah, I've read a lot of studies and a lot of research on that, and this, I don't know if I can pronounce that right, dichotomous thinking is a major fuel to anxiety, to low self-worth as well, because obviously if you can't do it perfectly, you feel like you're a failure, which you're not, but that's besides the point, and perfectionism, but we're going to talk about that in a second. The psychology behind this, as I said, first you have, that distortion, because it's either good or bad. You've got no gray areas, which we are going to see in the next chapter. You've got that perfectionism when your worth is very much tied to your performance. And that, again, is very bad because A, you can't always perform at your best, and B, that really very much prevents you from flexibility, especially when it comes to food. And I don't think there is such a thing as perfect diet, because, for example, you're going to see people be like, okay, milk is so bad for you. And then the next study, no, milk is good. And you have that for eggs, you've got that for red meat. So I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect diet, for example. You also fear loss of control. And as a control freak, I get you. But the problem is that when you believe that moderation is failure, you're setting yourself for failure, because you're never going to be perfect and you're never going to be able to do so well. There's no, even if there's such a thing as there's no such a thing as a perfect workout plan, but the best workout plan, life is going to get in the way. You're going to get your periods. You're going to get a bad night of sleep. It's going to rain. It's going to be windy. That machine that you want to use is full because it's used because the gym is full. Whatever. You can't control everything. Sometimes you gotta be fine with it. I'm still learning to do it. Sometimes you gotta be fine with it. And conditioning, because let's be honest, society is kind of about go hard or go home. There's no in between. No, there's listening to my body, and there's saying yes to that birthday invitation because that sounds fun. And there is you know what, I'm exhausted, let me not do that, or I'm sick. There's so many gray area. This is very common in high achievers, which I know a lot of you are very much like that, which is why I felt the need to make a lesson about it. And chronic dieters, which again, that's us. And it's very, very linked to burnout and emotional dysregulation. Let's see what it does to your brain. This is one of my favorite part. It's I don't know, I just love seeing how the brain and the body works. First, you've got dopamine and reward loop. So the thing is, restriction lowers dopamine, which means that you're going to be craving more, and then you binge, then you restrict, and you repeat that loop. For example, or you quit, and then you feel guilty, you repeat the loop. That's pretty much the same thing. I keep telling you guys that your brain is like a child. Therefore, when you say you can't have that, or you have to be perfect, everything is every single time it's going to be thinking about how can I slip up, or how can I skip this, or I want that food. The best example is for food. If you say I can't have chocolate, you can be very, very, very sure that it's going to be thinking about chocolate, and you're going to end up want it. There's also, amygdala activation, the, oh my god, I messed up, I'm an awful person, whatever. It's going to trigger a threat response in the brain, and that's going to release those stress hormones, and that's going to lead to things like emotional eating, for example, which I have yet to make a video about, but we'll get there. Then you have the prefrontal cortex fatigue, because when you're constantly, labeling food as good or bad, or when you're constantly trying to make the best decision and being too hard on yourself, you're just gonna drain your decision, your willpower bottle, and that's when you make more impulsive choices. That's why a lot of people, for example, who binge tend to binge at night, because that's when you've lowered, you've been so restrictive all day, you've tried to be so good all day, you are going to, at the end of the day, have your bottle empty, and that's going to lead to worse decision. And then you've got neuroplasticity, like as a concept, because each I'll restart on Monday kind of reinforces the failure loop. And I think that's very real for a lot of you who are going to be thinking, you know what, I can't trust myself when it comes to doing that. Like a lot of women, when they join, they're going to tell me, I'm not sure. Like, I'm going to be like, okay, how do you feel about this program and so on? And they're going to say, I'm not sure I can do this because I've proven to myself so many times that I can't, that I've lost so much trust in myself, confidence in myself, that I can actually do this, right? So we have to get out of this failure loop of, seeing every slip up as a failure and reframing all of those. It's a work in progress for everyone, I think, but it's once you realize how it works, it's just easier to get out of it and trust yourself that oh my god, I can actually do this. Like, all I have to do is find a good alternative. I'm eating away at my points here. And then you're going to see, I'm actually someone who keeps showing up despite having like bad circumstances, for example. Circumstances, I can't English today. Or I'm going to keep following the plan even if I slipped up a little bit, even if I had a cookie or something like that. We'll get into that in a second. Now, let's talk about, and I think the real cost of the all or nothing mindset. First of all, you're never consistent, because what happens? You keep stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting. Therefore, and we don't know how long you spend in the stop, because start you can maybe do 24 hours, but it's very hard to be perfect. And then how long do you stop? Or maybe you start, Monday, and then Wednesday you're out of the game until next Monday. You can't go very far if this is what it's going to look like, the plan, So when you do that, you're preventing yourself from getting any type of results, reinforcing the failure aspect, because you'd never get anywhere. So you lose trust in yourself, obviously, and you really swing between restriction and binging, or quitting and starting over and all of that. When you confuse progress with perfection, that's when you're, again, setting yourself up for failure, because I keep telling you, you are going to fuck up. No matter how good the plan looks like on paper, there's gonna be time you will not be able to follow it, and that's fine, because everyone, myself included, has slipped up and still gotten results if they kept pushing, because it wasn't seen as a failure, but you know what, it was bound to happen. And yeah, you miss the middle ground, which is where true transformation happens, in the sense of, if I don't have the energy to go for a run, I'm gonna go for a walk. If I don't have the full time to do the full body, I'm going to eat away a few exercises. At least it got done. Anyways, we're gonna see a bit more how this applies to weight loss and so on. But yeah, research supports that rigid restraint predicts weight gain, while flexible control predicts maintenance. So basically, if you have that all or nothing mindset, you're more likely to, for example, binge or overeat and all of that, because you slipped up, so might as well eat the entire box, which I don't have to tell you, that's a lot of calories. Whereas if you say, oh, I ate that one cookie, but it's not a big deal, I'm going to have the next meal plan, the next meal as planned, you're not going to gain weight necessarily, because one cookie is what? Depending on the cookie, from 100 to, let's say, 400 calories. That's nothing. That's nothing. Okay, the missing skill, finding the gray area. Balance isn't natural. As I said, we're conditioned to being perfect, go big or go home. It's a skill. So here is how I do it. Ask yourself, okay, this is my situation right now. What is the next best choice? Like if someone, like if my best friend or the person I love most came to me and said, this just happened, what do you think I should do? Like, let's say your best friend comes to you and say, oh my God, I ate one cookie. What do you think I should do? Never would you say something like, oh my God, finish the whole box. You would say, well, go back to the usual plan, I guess, and forget about the cookie. It's no big deal. So why cannot you say that to yourself when you know that if someone else were to tell you this, you would be like, duh. I don't know. And yeah, the other question is, what is better than nothing? As I've said, if you say I can't do the full body, what's better than nothing? Well, maybe I can go for a walk. Maybe I can go for a run. It doesn't take as much time because commute and all that. I can just go home, go for a half-hour run, come back. Cool. Well, maybe I can do a home workout. Cool. You have to find all those alternatives when it comes to working out. For example, when it comes to I can't, eat perfectly today because I have a dinner with my family. Okay, what's the best choice? I don't know, maybe I can look at the menu and make the decision now, or maybe I can call my coach or message my coach, which a lot of you do, and figure out, what do you think I should do? And we figure out, what do you want to do today? Do you want it to be a maintenance day? Sometimes it works. Do you want it to be like a deficit? Okay, let's figure it out. It's all about figuring out what is the in-between. What the perfect solution would be. You know what the awful decision, even though quote unquote right, would be. You have to train yourself to see what are the middle ground options, because more often than not, you have more than just one. The thing is, when you do that and when you train yourself to do that, you really are focused on identity. I'm someone who follows the plan. I'm someone who, lives this healthy lifestyle. I'm someone who's on the weight loss journey, whatever. And consistency. Consistency, what does it do? Gets you results. Amazing. When it gets you result, what happens? Oh my God, it reinforces the actions and the identity that it's working, and you get out of the failure loop. I could just stop it here, but we have more to go. So the identity shifts is, we are going to go from I'm either disciplined or I'm a failure. We don't want that. We're throwing that away. To I'm someone who takes care of myself and follows the plan, even though it's not going to be perfect. I keep telling you, it is not going to be perfect, and that's okay, right? The thing is that every balanced choice will wire in your brain a new neural pathways that says, I can actually trust myself to make the best decision no matter what just happened. And emotional regulation, because as I said, when you slip up, you're going to go in panic mode. When you slip up and you say, and you rewire that and you say, okay, instead of finishing the cookie or instead of saying I'm a failure and beating myself up, what's the next best choice? You are going to make it easier to keep on doing that in the future, and you are going to feel so much better about yourself and the process that you won't dread the process, first of all, and you will trust yourself, as I've just said, that you can keep on following up, keep on following the plan and keep on making the best choices for you. We're gonna go from all or nothing, I'm sure I'm not the first one to come up with it, but I found it smart, to all or something. Okay, I can't do it perfectly. What's something I can do? I can't have my, perfect workout. How can I move today? I can't, I overate a little. No. I nourished myself, and how can I make the best, the next best choice? It's all about reframing, and that's how you make progress. It's literally flexibility times persistence in that equation, because you're always about trying to keep on seeing how can I stick to the plan as best as I can without making it so rigid that I don't enjoy the plan. Now, I know I didn't write this down, so let me, quick side note. There is a there is a fine line between lack of discipline and just life getting in the way. One cookie, it's not a big deal. I don't know. I don't even know how to define. I feel like you feel when it, when you're just being too nice with yourself and not pushing hard to get to your goal. And when you're genuinely, there is no way I'm doing that. How can I find an alternatives? an alternative. So yeah, I'll write something here just to make it make sense, but I just thought about this now. There is a fine line. There is balance to be found. And that's something I do very often. And I try to show, like, for example, in my Instagram stories, I'm always saying, okay, today was supposed to be a 5K, but I felt so good, I went for an 8K run. Or the other way around. Today I felt miserable, I was supposed to go for a 6K, I was so tired, I ran 3K, and that's it. And it's all about practicing. It's the more you do it, the more you will know when, like, which is which and what should you do as well. So in terms of, you know, how to stop that, you've got either the shame loop, as I've mentioned, you slip up, guilt, restriction, craving, start again, slip up, guilt, restriction, craving, whatever, because you keep reinforcing the I can't trust myself, I'm a bad person, I'm a failure, and you keep punishing yourself. Whereas the recovery loop looks more slip up, awareness of what just happened, compassion of I'm only human, it's no big deal, then what's the next best step, and then you can return to balance and actually, you know, follow through on that next best step, which feels way more empowering instead of beating yourself up. And it shows I can actually handle challenges well, because I used to not really do that. I used to punish myself, and instead I decided I deserve not to do that to myself. And yeah, as I just said, the main way of dealing with it is what triggered this. Like, when something doesn't go as planned, I always ask myself, like, why? For example, let's say I'm gonna, like, cannot do that workout today. Why? Well, I'm exhausted. Why? Because I stayed on my phone until like 2 a.m. and then my alarm, you know, woke me up at like 7. So obviously I didn't really get enough sleep. Okay, so what's the next best step? Turn my phone off at a reasonable time? Cool, let's do that tomorrow. Today, if you don't want to work out, that's fine. That's on you though. Let's go for a walk. You're welcome. And yeah, it will switch, you know, your brain from shame, which is very much in the amygdala, to the like problem solving part of the brain. Your brain actually loves solving problem. Like, if you do that, it's gonna love it. And that also very much brain the emotional downward loop. You don't have to wait for a slip up for that to happen, like to practice this. One of the major things that I'm going to tell you to do is to let go of the good versus bad food labels. Now, for everyone in the coaching program right now who is watching this lesson, there is in the binge eating recovery chapter unit, you will see something called like food rules, maybe not. There's something about like, if you followed it in order, you came across that already. Then you can ask yourself every day, how can I practice flexibility? Maybe it's, you know, swapping meals. Maybe it's taking like a rest day. Maybe it's taking like an unplanned snack or dessert. Like, you can practice not having the perfect plan all the time and still seeing results. Like, for example, again, that's my favorite thing that one of my clients told me, which is, hey, I've been eating cinnamon rolls because she loves baking and I'm still losing weight. Yeah, because you don't have to eat perfectly. You shouldn't, I guess, because otherwise you feel very triggered, like very restricted. And she's from the binge eating recovery, you know, group. It's amazing to see that, because usually she'd say, like, at first, if I had like one cookie, like, I could not think of giving myself that, and if I did, I would eat the entire box, or I would just binge for the rest of the week and then try again on Monday, being more restrictive and so on, and it just got worse. Again, by the way, if you need help, please let me help, because I'm very good at what I do. So yeah, just book a free call with me below and we'll talk exactly about what is going on and what are the next steps for you so you can join, and at least if I can help. Anyways, celebrate returning to balance can also be a win. Like, a lot of my clients, when they have a slip up, because again, everyone has, like, I don't know anyone who didn't have a slip up on their journey at least once. They're gonna be like, this is what happens. And first, you know, I walk them through the process. They're gonna message me like, okay, this happened, like, I can't work out today because my gym is closed. Okay, what can you do? Rest days are fine sometimes. Sometimes we can do a quick run. Sometimes we can move things around. Let's say that. But, you know, I just teach them the process, and then they start to message me like, hey, so this happened and I went through the process on my own and I did that. And now I'm like literally like proud of myself. Celebrate your wins always. That's how you get the independence to do it. Like at first, you need someone to hold your hand and that's fine, or you need someone to walk you through the process and show you this is what you can do. You will very quickly learn how to do it yourself, and that is so rewarding and empowering. And you really need to sit down and be like, celebrate the fact that you managed to turn a slip up into a win. Okay, when it comes to applying this to weight loss, let's talk a little bit more about, strategy. Aim for 80 to 90% consistency, not 100. Like even me, when I plan something, I know that it's never going to be perfect. I'm going to have like an additional rest day, or the weather's going to suck and there's no way I can go for a run today. Or, my mom is going to cook that like amazing dish, or bake a cake. I'm going to have some of it. It's fine as long as most of the time I follow the plan. I have zero guilt because I know that 100% perfection, consistency, and ticking all the boxes is not possible. It is not. It's putting so much pressure on yourself to try and do that. It's not worth it because you're going to fail and feel bad about yourself. It's not worth it. Another thing I do is I focus on weekly averages, not daily, perfection. For example, when it comes to weight, I'm going to, not all of my clients are on that, but I'm going to ask like, okay, what's the daily weight so we can calculate the average? Or more like specifically, what's your daily calories so I can calculate the average, and are you actually in a deficit? More often than not, they are in a deficit after we calculate the average, even if they had like a higher calorie day, for example, because they went out and all of that. Another way, please include your favorite food within your calorie goals. I absolutely love cinnamon rolls. I'm gonna have that, like I'm gonna make sure, like for example, that if I somehow happen to bake it, I will not bake it and not eat it. So it's always about the macros. That's why I always tell my client the only two things that matter in terms of what you eat are A, that you hit your calorie deficit, B, that you hit your protein as close as possible to it. The rest, I don't care. If you have too much fat one day, if you have too much carbs, it's not a big deal. Please enjoy the food you eat. If not, how can you stick to it? And if you can't stick to it because you're miserable, how can you get any results? Okay, let's move on to celebrating the micro wins and minimizing the slip-ups. Again, when they happen, ask yourself, what would I tell to a friend? Most likely, it's not a big deal. Move on. And same with the micro wins. And someone tells you, hey, I've been able to do this, accomplish this. What would you say? Most likely, oh my God, congrats, that's great. You have to do the same that you would do for someone you love to yourself. Please. Oh yeah, and there is that study that basically shows that when you're flexible, you're more likely to binge or overeat. You're more likely to actually stick to the plan. And that means better long-term fat loss. So yeah, that's just... Now, when it comes to binge recovery, how would we practically do that? The first thing is, I would say, allow all foods, no more labels. Again, for those in the course, you have a specific, food rules lesson, right? It's difficult at first. That's why, hand holding there's a specific process to actually reintroduce the fear foods, because some can be very triggering, some not as triggering. So, you have to start with the low trigger food, reintroduce them. How do I feel? And then, improve. Okay. Or keep going towards the most difficult food. For example, even for me, I have low trigger food for me are cookies. High trigger foods for me is that Biscoff Lotus spread. I used to buy a jar and eat the entire jar with like bread and just spoon. I haven't tried to buy it yet and eat it just because A, I don't really feel the need anymore, and B, it's a high trigger food. I don't want to risk it quite yet, and that's okay. It takes the time it takes. Replace I failed with curiosity. Again, you have a specific lesson about how to deal with binge eating, the aftermath, and how to, deal with that. Practice emotional regulation first instead of punishment. So how can you make yourself feel better? And then once you feel better, we're gonna go out of, you zoom out what happened. Now, again, practice something over nothing. Like we are moving from the all to something to now the something over nothing. We are really trying to figure out like the middle ground. So this week, you want to pick one I usually give up then situation. Okay, let's say at work every Friday you've got those specific snacks and then you're gonna eat it, and then that means that you're gonna binge Wednesday, wow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, ask yourself, so this is usually a I give up, this happens. What would be one thing that I can do that will actually align with my goals, make me feel not so miserable about it, and actually get back on track immediately? Maybe you can say, well, I can eat the donuts and plan it in my calorie deficit, for example. Cool. Okay, that's good. That's very good, because basically includes it in your calorie deficit, so it's not going to feel like a slip up. It's actually part of the plan. Or you can say, well, this might be a higher calorie day, and that's going to be the one for the week, but my average is still going to be in a deficit, so I can still eat it and still be on track. Wow, that's twice, that we actually make it work. So you have to train yourself to learn how to make it work despite a slip up, or accept the slip up and be like, well, I'm in surplus today, but I'm going to rebrand it as a refeed day. Okay, cool, that works for me. Tomorrow you will have more energy, so the workout might be better, and you also will feel more energy that day because you had more calories, and even better, you will not store it as fat immediately because your body doesn't work that immediately, right? You don't gain fat in one day, just like you don't lose fat in one day. You are going to feel warmer that day because basically, calories are transforming heat, especially in surplus at first. So that day you might just be a little bit especially that night, after the higher calorie day, you'll just be hotter. I don't see that as a con at all. So yeah, you want to train your brain to see that effort, no matter how small, still counts. In summary, the all or nothing thinking is a distortion, not a fact. You don't have to act like that. It is proven to predict weight regain and binge cycles when you keep yourself stuck in that. Because now that you're I've given you the options, you are keeping yourself stuck because now you know how to get out of it. And balance is always in the gray zone rather than the all or nothing mindset. It's the all or something mindset. It's the something over nothing mindset. And yeah, progress is built on flexibility, not perfection, because perfection does not exist. God. So yeah, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent, consistent, and that's when you see results, and that builds the self-trust. It's just that. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.